Alright, guys. As I suppose most of you are aware by now, Cities Skylines 2 was recently announced and came as a bit of a surprise to me. At least I didn't know beforehand, but a very, very welcoming surprise. I do feel that there are some of the choices made in the original game that is really starting to show its age, and it seems like especially this reliance on painting districts for certain things and stuff, it seems a little restrictive in their development efforts. So I'm really looking forward to it. So in this brief video, I'm just gonna share some of my thoughts, both regarding the announcement trailer, but also kind of go a bit into my wish list for the game. But yeah, safe to say I'm already super excited. So I can almost only be disappointed with the amount of hype currently. The first thing I noticed with the trailer, I know it's not actual in-game footage, but the first thing that I notice and I hope is gonna be a thing is that they're gonna go for a much more realistic aesthetic this time around, compared to the rather cartoony look of the original game. Now, as I said, it's not in-game footage, but it would surprise me if there's like a massive discrepancy between the quite realistic, CGI they've made for the trailer and the actual end product. That would, yeah, I mean, that would be very surprising to me, misleading almost. So I'm really hopeful that we'll just have a much more realistic aesthetic, and there are a couple of reasons for that. But I think the main one is that if I compare City Skylines to SimCity 4, which is another wonderful game that I've played a ton of in the past, then in City Skylines, people that strive for a realistic look, they almost cut out all vanilla aspects of the game, right? They barely use vanilla roads. They certainly don't use any vanilla tree assets. They either don't use any vanilla assets or very few, a select few that might work in whatever theme they're working on. And I think this is a bit of a shame, right? Because it means that you have, games that are so modded that, they have barely any resemblance to the original game. And I'm hoping that Colossal Order took notice of this and have made that a change, because comparing to SimCity 4, one thing I really enjoy about that game is that the base aesthetic is just really nice looking. It looks very realistic, and even the most modded, asset heavy, cities in SimCity 4, you will pretty often be able to spot some of the vanilla buildings that shipped with the original game because they were just realistic looking and very high quality. So that's my first takeaway, and I'm hopeful that that's gonna be the case. But of course, there's very little to actually judge that by right now. But I'm hoping. Something else that I think sounds very promising, which isn't directly related to the trailer, but more just the announcement of the game, is that the CEO of Colossal Order has stated, they've made comments on the realism of the game. They've stated that it's gonna be super realistic, the most realistic city simulation ever created, actually, with a fully realized transport and economy systems, and that's very, very promising. Jokes aside, I know I'm not the best at actually working with the simulation and the management aspects, because I kind of mod myself out of all that. But truth be told, one of the reasons I don't really want to care about that in my cities is that I don't find the systems in place very deep. And a good comparison is once again SimCity 4, where while I really had a ton of mods and thousands of assets, just like in City Skylines, then the base simulation of the game was actually kind of interesting. One thing I have always sorely missed in City Skylines is managing socioeconomics, basically. In SimCity 4, you can actually have proper ghettos, and areas will turn into ghettos, based on some quasi-realistic parameters. So, if there are cut off from good service coverage, if they're near industry, the land value is low, etc., etc., then you'll, things will turn into a ghetto. It will, and it will stay a ghetto until these aspects are improved, basically. And that's something I really miss, and I really, really, really hope that that's going to be a management aspect of Cities Skylines 2, because I just find that, socioeconomical classes, or whatever you might call it, that's a dynamic that is extremely important for any city builder to really, brand itself as being realistic. So that's very promising. Of course, any talks of improvement and more depth to, transport and economy systems is also very welcome. If you ask me, they can make the game overly complex and then just have, different sort of difficulty levels, so that if you are a novice to the genre and you just want to chill and not stress about micromanaging everything, fine, you can set that as a parameter and then go in game and you will have more of an easy mode. But if you want the fully fledged simulation where you have to tweak budgets, you have to, really invest time into policies and whatnot, then you can have that option as well. I hope that's gonna be the case. I really do. So yeah, hype. One more thing I noticed from the trailer, which this might sound super odd, but there seems to be a lot of emphasis on the construction process of buildings. Now, once again, it's not actual game footage, but I hope that, the construction animation and the whole process feels a little more substantial in this new game than in Cities Skylines. I remember from, once again drawing on SimCity 4, but this was also the case in the completely failed game SimCity 2013. But, construction was like a big part of the game, and, when a skyscraper would break ground and start building up, it would actually take a while for it to top out, and it would take a while for this weird looking scaffolding to actually disappear. And it just created like a feeling of anticipation. I thought it was so cool. And it's also something that, I find really cool and interesting in real life. I recently went to Manhattan, and, you have, for instance, the Hudson Yards. It was completed when I went there just a few weeks ago. But, seeing pictures of the actual construction process of this massive redevelopment project, it looks so cool, it becomes a part of the city in and of itself, and it really helps, give some character and some story and narrative into the districts you create. If you have some kind of, super quickly gentrifying, redeveloping area. So I hope there's going to be more emphasis on that, even though I know it's a bit of an odd one. If you feel the same, or you have other, quirky wishes for the game, please let me know in the comments. I'd be really interested to read it. Now, for some of my additional wishlist things that are completely unrelated to the trailer, I'm hoping that they will do a full revamp of the zoning system. I think that, the reason I've kind of dropped using zoning altogether is that, it's not so much asset diversity, because you can kind of get out of this by making some tweaks to your game. If you ensure you have enough, level 1 assets, and that you have, the most common tilings, lot sizes covered, so like 2x4, for instance. If you have enough different assets, then you can get diversity with zoning. The issue is, of course, that when you work with angles, bendy roads, and you work with angles that aren't 90 degrees, then zoning gets super wonky, because the game doesn't handle that all that well. So I'm hoping they're gonna revamp that. Maybe they can take maybe they've taken some inspiration from, once again, SimCity 2013, where zoning was a little different, and at least some of the, lots could actually adapt a bit if they were zoned at a weird angle. I don't think it's too hard to implement. Maybe the garden that surrounds a single family house can sort of stretch itself out so that it can kind of occupy an odd angle and look much better. I hope that's gonna be the case. If I'm gonna be really picky, it would be super awesome to have some sort of simple in-game asset customization as well. This is something they implemented in a game called The Architect Paris, which is from a different developer, but the concept is that you're able to maybe make some small tweaks to in-game assets so that you can make them fit corners or something like that. Very reminiscent to this distort ability or distort function I use a lot with procedural objects. It's a really simple way to just make some tweaks to the main corners of a building so that it fits, you know, a weird angle a little better. I'm hoping for something like that. That would be really awesome. Something I also hope is something I hope that Colossal Order has really emphasized is also making it very easy and accessible to modders and creators, and maybe even making, you know, the barrier of entry as you know, low as possible, because it's pretty much obvious to everyone that one of the most fantastic things about Cities Skylines is just that the modding community surrounding the game is just incredible. You know, few games have this substantial a modding community, this amount of mods, this amount of assets. It's absolutely insane, and I really hope that they've had that in their considerations and that they've tried to push for that even further in this new game, because otherwise it would really be a shame. So yeah, I'm hoping for maybe some tools that makes the barrier of entry lower or something like that, or at least just makes it easy for existing developers to, you know, port their existing mods and assets to the new game. Yeah, really hoping for good modding support. One more thing for the wishlist, which I'm pretty positive that's not gonna be a feature, but I would find it so cool. It's something I've tried to sort of mimic on my channel throughout the years, and that's, you know, simulating private developers and the bids they make for new developments on, you know, rezoned or empty parcels. That would be so awesome. So imagine that, you know, you zone a piece of land as, for instance, you know, high density office or something like that, and then the game actually offers you a couple of proposals from you know, fictive investors, and you get to choose because you're the mayor, right? You spearhead the city council, so you actually have some say in what gets built, not just what type of building gets built, right? You need to approve it. Now I know that's probably not feasible to do for each and every zoned lot, because you'd have to really you know, make a lot of decisions, but it could be cool that, you know, you could somehow specify that, okay, for this specific lot, you know, it's right in the smack of downtown of my very prestigious high demand city. I would like a lot of control with what actually gets built. Fine, I might mark this zone as something that I want to see a bidding process on, and then you get these bids and you can choose. I think that would be super awesome, and it would also enable you to make some of the focal points of your city more, you know, realistic looking and diverse. For instance, you could choose to say that for most of the stuff I zoned in downtown, I actually want to really control the process of what is approved. I think this could be an awesome feature, and I don't think it's impossible or all that hard to implement, because as soon as you zone something a certain type, you know, you already, by then, you narrow the game to, you know, a selection of assets. And then basically, you know, it's just, you just want to let the game, you know, make you choose, basically. Could be a cool feature, I think, but I'm not hopeful that's gonna be in the game, but it could be awesome. One more thing that I hope for that kind of ties into, you know, making the game more complex is, you know, adding more choices and kind of modularity to aspects of the game while you're actually playing it. So for instance, you know, if I zone something and I make it a district, then give me even more choices in defining how that district can look. So in real life, you know, you will have districts where, you know, all developers know that, you know, we have strict building codes for this specific district because it's historic or whatever, and we need to, you know, we want to maintain a certain style. Something like that could be super cool. And I think that if they take some of the most popular mods and they kind of try and implement some of those features into the base game, then that would be really an awesome addition as well. You know, we've got these road builder and node controller and intersection marking tool. If you kind of fuse that together and sort of offer each and every road or network in the new game as more of a template than a finished product, where whenever you place it, you're able to customize aspects, move some of the lanes around, designate lanes as you wish. So for instance, you have a 4-lane road, 2 lanes each direction per default, but if you want to specify that the 2 outer lanes are actually for a certain, maybe they're tram only lanes, then you can do that. If you want to have one of the middle lanes be parking, then you can specify that. Stuff like that could be really awesome, because it's just gonna increase the, I don't know if replayability is the right word, but it's just gonna increase the overall customization. How much you can customize what you can use and build in the base game, which I think would be awesome. And it will, of course, allow modders to focus on even more complex additions along the way. That would be something that would be super cool as well, I feel. And I think for now that sort of sums up my thoughts and my kind of biggest wishes, I guess, for Cities Skylines 2. I'm really looking forward to the release. I mean, I'm kind of contemplating taking a week's leave of absence or something whenever the release date is announced. I can cross fingers that it's in one of my already planned holidays. That would be awesome. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I can't wait. I don't know if you can hear that on my voice or my level of excitement, but I cannot wait. It's so exciting. But yeah, I'm really interested in hearing what you guys feel about this whole announcement. How did you react to the trailer initially, and what's your wish list? Do you have maybe like a wish of some sort that isn't as commonly mentioned? I think that stuff like improvements to the zonings, like that I just mentioned, for instance, that's a pretty common one. People are pretty dissatisfied with the current zoning structure in Cities Skylines. So I'd be really interested in hearing if you have some more quirky wishes that you feel could really add some more to our favorite city building series. So yeah, let me know down there in the comments, and I guess I better get back to creating another episode of Coniferia. But yeah, thanks you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day. Bye.